Nigeria's democracy has been fragile and fluctuating since independence. Successive governments have struggled to create a sense of national unity in a complex country whose borders were drawn by British colonists incorporating more than 200 ethnic groups. In October 1979, after more than 13 years of military rule, Nigeria returned to democratic rule, and Alhaji Shehu Shagari was the first democratically elected president. Nigeria has a democratic constitution with a federal system modeled on the US. But some commentators say Nigeria is not currently a true democracy to its entrenched corrupt political class, its dwindling electoral participation, popular suspicion of the ruling class, security and law enforcement challenges, shrinking civil liberties, and weak democratic institutions. A vibrant media industry exists in Nigeria, but the government has been cracking down on the free press. Twitter was banned for more than a year, while big media houses closed and journalists fled. Security incidents go unreported or misrepresented for fear of reprisal by the government. The Constitution guarantees Nigeria's freedom of religion, expression, movement, and assembly and protects them from discrimination based on sex, religion, origin, or political opinions. Yet, basic rights are continually challenged in a failing justice environment. The judicial system is weak and compromised to step in and enforce civil liberties. Nigeria needs more young people to engage with politics, offer new ideas and run for office on issues which affect all Nigerians, from employment and security to climate and energy policy. So far, it's a checkered journey with ups and downs. Apathy and disconnection are the result of election. The non-inclusive character of the federation is also part of the problem. Young people feel disenfranchised. Women are also underrepresented in politics. So, Nigeria's democratic journey has not been smooth at all. As long as money can buy votes, the future of democracy is uncertain. Nigeria's democracy can only be strengthened through a revolutionized political system, better quality political parties, more independent and diversified media, a stronger electoral management body, and well-resourced judiciary. Law enforcement and security forces must be devoted to constitutional democracy rather than regime security and protecting elites. Nigeria's democracy needs to serve the rights, aspiration, and potential of its citizens for a good, dignified, and fulfilled life.
We are in a very interesting times. As people, you don't need a prophet to tell you that a nation with Nigeria's youth unemployment rate will be violent as more and more politicians are throwing themselves into the ring for various public offices. Remember, it is your vote that will validate your choice on election day. Pick up your voter's card and choose the right leader and secure your future.
You're welcome back. We had a nice time together. Again, we are going to have something interesting too. The topic is voter apathy, and we have equally a guru. I've known this man for a long time. We've been in the trenches too, struggling to ensure that democracy works in Nigeria, encouraging and mobilizing voters to vote and to remove themselves from that drudgery of not voting. And we call it voter apathy. Achike Chude is a comrade, is a political strategist, is an analyst, and of course a human rights activist. We have been in the trenches, as I've said. We've been together working to ensuring that Nigeria's democracy is better than before. Achike, welcome to this program.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. It's always.
Yes.
It always is.
Yeah. Yes. So, Achike, this voter apathy, how does it sit down well with you? Or how does it sit with you?
Well, I think it's not. I think it's beyond me. I think actually the question should even be broader. How does it sit well with Nigeria? So,
Okay then. And you are a Nigerian.
Yeah,
you represent
exactly.
the Nigerian people
Yeah,
that seat.
yeah, exactly. Because ultimately,
Uh-huh.
you know, it's about governance. It's a governance issue.
Good.
You know, and governance is also about the welfare of the people. It's also about the security of the people.
Yes.
And so when you look at at least the basic provision of the Constitution, in terms of the constitutional expectation from the leadership, it just says two things. You know, the welfare of the people and the security.
Yes.
You know, because you need to have a secured polity before you now begin to talk about the welfare of the people. And all of these things can only play out when the people exercise their franchise, when the people themselves are involved in governance. So when you look at the issue, for instance, the definition of democracy as government of the people, for the people, by the people, and all that, there are certain presuppositions, you know, even with that. It presupposes participation and representation. You know, representation of the people by the people, you know, by those the people have elected. It presupposes that active participation from all and sundry. And part of this active participation goes to the heart of this topic, voting. You know, a voter enthusiasm or voter apathy. Because ultimately, you know, that is what determines the kind of, you know, leadership that a country or citizens will have in place. And so over time, really, if you look at the pattern of elections in this country, look at the general elections in you know, in practical terms at the presidential level, you're looking at about maybe 32–35%, you know, of the total number of even registered voters participating in an electoral process, not even up to 50%,
Yes.
half of the registered voters.
Yes.
At state, you know, government, the governorship level, it is even worse.
Yes.
Then you now talk about maybe other offices like the Senate, House of Reps, and so on, more apathetic.
Yes.
And then the worst of them all is local government election,
Yes.
which is supposed to be key.
The
A lot of people
key.
do not understand,
Yes.
because that is the government that is closest to the people. And so, you mean, like the last exercise in Lagos State,
Poor.
you know, exceedingly poor. Some of these senators and members of House of Reps were represented with votes as low as 5,000, or in some cases 2,000, and that cannot be properly representative. You know, so this has been the bane, really, of the politics of this country for a very long time.
Yes.
There are reasons. There are, you know, for that. First of all, you know, governance is also about give and take.
Yes.
You know, and people tend to want to. It's like the issue of taxes, for instance, and people are asking, why are citizens not paying taxes? And citizens will ask you why they should pay taxes. After all, they know what is going to happen to their money. You know, that's fast. You understand? So there has to be that trust. Once there's a trust deficit, it affects the perception of people about their political leadership. You know, and so they are not going to, their hard-earned money, they are not going to say they are going to
Throw
pay
it
tax
into the waste basket.
Thank you. Because once they move on the road, the roads are bad. You know, their suspensions, their vehicle suspensions are in terrible state and all that. So, and so many other things. And I think the same thing, you know, we find the same thing with the politics of this country. People for, you know, all of, from 1999 to date, 23 years of unbroken democracy, as they want to remind us, or they like to remind us. What do we have to show? We look at where we were in 1999, you understand, and where we are today. Look at the exchange rate. Look at the standard of living. You know, look at the issue of security or insecurity. Look at the corruption index in Nigeria.
I'm sorry, comrade, to actually cut you. This question just actually, it has been in my head, but funny enough, I don't know how you even drove towards the angle, which is democracy. How far and so far? Like, how far we've been coming, just the way you're saying, this year to now. Please, can you actually give us more? I want you to go in depth now, because I know you just, it was just a
because what I was trying to do was to build a basis, or to build grounds for the case I'm going to make about voter apathy. You understand? So what I was just trying to do is to draw a connection between governance, you know, and the response of the people to governance. You know, so in the absence of what people see, because people have an idea, the fact that people are angry, it is not a solution. The issue of voters apathy, when people say, look, yes, what are they doing for us? Why should you go and vote? In some cases, they will tell you, after all, the votes do not count. Then it means that you are talking about a people that are not properly enlightened about their responsibilities and duties. You understand? Because if governance, if you are talking about failure of governance, you are talking about the failure of the people.
Yes.
Do you understand? Somebody has said that the price we have to pay for our democracy is eternal vigilance. You know, so if the politicians are not meeting up, it is because we have ensured through our complacency, you know, and lack of zeal or interest, you know, lack of political maturity. It is the docility that we had the ones that have made it possible, you know. And so when you because the thing about it is that politicians like environments or political situations where the citizens are not involved.
Yes.
The politicians do not like it when the polling booths or polling units are filled with people who have come to vote. Because when they want to talk about manipulation, when they want to detail people to go and carry the ballot boxes and the rest, the people can be intimidated. Those few people they want to send can be intimidated by the sheer number of the people that are, you know, that are interested in the electoral process. You know, and so when they get there, they see this large mass of people, they are hesitant about whether to involve themselves in a process, you know, that takes away from the election. So these are some of the issues. So I think over the years, you know, people have not seen any reason, you know, in terms of government succeeding, you know, in governance, in providing the so-called benefit, you know, benefits of a democracy or dividends of democracy. People have not been able to, you know, tie it together with their active participation in the electoral process. You know, and so you look at, for instance, the standard of living today. That's how you measure. Do you understand? What is my life today? Is it better now than it was yesterday? So if it has gotten worse, then it means that the process that led to us today is,
Is it, can we now continue on this road? Because government has not been doing this, government has not fulfilled its own part of the contract that we said, then people will now stay back and not vote? Is that the way that can solve the problem? Or for them to be involved with removing this voter apathy so that the right candidates that they think now will now make the difference will vote based on the description given by the evangelists that just left now about the conscience voters, the commercial voters, and the manipulated voters or manipulated voter? What is your take on
what
that?
we need to do is that we need to make a connection, you know, between what happens in government, what we do in government, and the result or the outcome of governance. And so the people themselves, and that's why, I mean, long before now, you have been involved in, you know, voter education, awareness, and all that. Why were you doing that? Because you know that there are certain things, certain imperatives that the people do not know, do not have. And so you need to be able to explain to the people that this is your responsibility, this is your duty, these are your obligations. And
for your information, sir, this is that's again why this program.
This is, of course, obviously.
To educate.
Exactly, to educate. You know, because the people have to be educated, they have to be made aware, they have to be, you know, well informed about their duties and their responsibilities. They have to know that there's a connection between the ability to pay their children's school fees, between the ability to pick up, you know, family responsibilities and to discharge them properly, and the governance that they have at the end of the day. Because the basis, you know, of their welfare starts with the action that they take towards, you know, ensuring that responsible people are the ones that occupy political office. And that these people occupy political office for a purpose. And that is for the purpose of providing a better welfare for the people.
And security.
And the basic reason why the Constitution makes it clear, why I mean, it is not, you know, a monarchy. You know, it's not a dictatorship. So it supposes that the people have a right in the choice of the people that are going to represent them. And just in case those people fail in the discharge of their duty, the Constitution makes a provision for the people to pass a vote of no confidence on these same people during an election. So it becomes a tragedy when a political leadership has failed the people. You understand? And the people themselves are not aware that they are in a position, that the law, that the Constitution has given them powers to take steps to remove these people whose activities in government have been hostile to the welfare and to the interests of the people, and to replace them with another set of people. You understand? So these are the things. And the politicians are well aware of the power of the people. It's not as if they're not. And the reason why the politicians have to play, you know, the kind of negative parochial politics they play all the time is to keep the people permanently in the dark. Yeah, you understand? Through, you know, religious politics, through ethnic politics, through geopolitical politics. You know, because once they can introduce some of these, you know, parochial elements in the minds of the people themselves are, I mean, you know, their mindset is deviated from the issues that matter. They are no longer talking about issues, but they are looking at the candidates on the basis of who this candidate is, where this candidate is coming from, what language he speaks, and all of that. And so in that process, the politicians or the political elites succeed in keeping the people divided. But I agree with you when you ask the question. It should not be so. And we cannot allow it to be so. And that is why we keep on doing, and just like you said, that's why we're having this program. That's why we have had other kinds of programs, you know, to enlighten the people, to tell the people that there is a difference, that you can make a difference. You understand that these people are not bigger than you. You know, because they have this impression that government is so big and so powerful that we cannot do anything about the government. But they are talking about it from a position of ignorance because they are the government. Yes. You know, so this is the issue. They are the government. The democracy, the people themselves are the government. The democracy that they practice is about the people. It's for the people.
Okay,
comrade. You know, so we must be able to make that connection.
Comrade, now,
and once the people are able to get it. Then that's all. They'll be in a position, they've taken it back, and they'll be in a position to teach the politicians a lesson anytime they want.
Exactly. Okay, I like that. Well, that's a very good one. Okay, comrade, I would like us to talk about democracy in Nigeria. How far and so far right now? Let's go with what we have already, because Voters Party and everything is all part of our democracy. Now, what would you say about democracy in Nigeria now, and from where we're coming from, and what's the future that you see from here?
You know, how do I put it? Democracy is a process, and there's no end to democracy, because society is forever evolving. You know, there's no end to the dynamics of social, you know, restructuring. Now, that's why, for instance, in America, where they have over 250 years of democracy, in the United Kingdom and some of these other countries, France and the rest, so many decades, hundreds of years, you know, in the practice of democracy, they are still evolving.
Of course.
They are still having issues with their democracy.
Of course.
You know, so if we look at it from that perspective, we could say, well, we have not made, you know, in terms of time, we still have a lot of time, but we do not exactly have time. Because the reality is that if you do not get it right as quickly as you can, society risks getting to a level of implosion. You know, we have seen what happened with a place like Somalia. We saw what happened in Sierra Leone, where the Nigerian military had to step in. We saw also what happened in Liberia, even within democratic dispensations. And so sometimes people have this impression that whenever you talk about a democratic government, that you are talking about, you know, that is the end of it all. It's democracy, you have a democracy. You could have civilian governance and you could have a dictatorship. And we have had it all over, across the whole of Africa. You're talking about Mobutu Sese Seko. You are talking about Jean-Bede Bokassa. You are talking, some of them were civilian, you know, civilians. From military garb, you know, became civilian presidents under a democratic setting. And yet some of them were worse than military dictatorship. So the fact that we have civilians in power is not an indication that the civic space is free. Do you understand? You know, so now how far have we gone with our democracy? In a way, I would say not too far. If there's anything we can hold and say, yes, maybe we've done well, is the fact that this is the first time we're having over 2 decades of civilian democratic process without military interruption. This is the first time. So you could say, oh, well, perhaps that is an indication that the more we go into this, the more we're involved in it, the more things are going to get better. You know, but then you look at the essence of democracy, like we have said, in terms of the provisions by the of the Constitution, is you ask yourself what has been the outcome of our democratic experiment from 1999, experience from 1999 till date. Cost of living, insecurity in our country, you know, healthcare is in shambles, education, you know, is in disarray with the ASO strikes and all that, you know, and so many other things. Infrastructure, you know, is decrepit. And so what exactly can you look at and you say, look, yeah, we are okay. Look at the exchange rate. The country is still, you know, we still have about, the country is still paying about 90% of her debt, you know, of the budget, the country's budget, to service debt and all that. And then you look at so many other indices, whether economic or political, and you realize that we have a problem. So from that perspective, we have not done well. The fact that, yes, for every single election from 1999 to date, when you have off-cycle elections, we still have to rely on the deployment of about 30,000, 35,000 security forces. It's not an indication.
What do you mean by this off-cycle, so that our people understand? What do you mean by off-cycle election? Off-cycle.
Okay, off-cycle. You know, all elections in Nigeria, especially general elections, were supposed to be held in one day. In one day. That is also, if all elections, governorship, presidential, and so on, are held in one day, then you don't have an off-cycle election. But because of the perversion of the political class, because of the manipulation of the process and the rigging that took place, you know, you had instances where elections were decided, you know, we're not decided at the polling booth, but we are decided by the courts. Yes. You understand? It is not the duty and responsibility, and some lawyers or some judges have said it in the past, that judges should not be the ones to determine the fate of election, the vote of the Nigerian people. It should be done by the Nigerian people at the polling units. But when the politicians will not allow the proper thing to be done, and some politicians feel that they have been cheated out of the process, they go to court. So when a governor, for instance, has enjoyed about 2 years or 3 years of governance as the governor of a state, the Constitution, maybe when it gets to the level, sorry, the court gets to the level maybe of the Supreme Court, for instance, they say, no, this man did not deserve in the first place to be sworn in, because he never got the mandate of the people. This is the person that got the mandate of the people. So they declare that election a nullity. Yes. You understand that the man, even though he has been in power for 3 years, was never governor of this state for any one day. Now that is where the problem starts. So, and from the moment, because the constitutional provision is that everybody that enjoys, you know, political office, for instance, at the level of government, say 4-year tenure, he must serve 4 years. Yes. So you now have a problem while others have been elected. Yes. You know, for a 4-year term, somebody has spent 3 years of this tenure. So the man now comes in and does 4 years. So what it means is that when other people are also doing their, you know, their own 4-year tenure, this man's 4-year tenure is 3 years after they have done theirs. So it becomes an off-cycle election, an election that is not held at the proper time, at the time that the other elections are holding.
Okay.
So it's now off-cycle.
Okay. Yes. All right. Very quickly, let's go over to see what we have for next week, and we'll be right back, of course, to read messages coming from our viewers online. Let's take it away.
Join us next week on Voters Forum to discuss the topic Youth and Politics in Nigeria. How can the youth be strengthened to benefit from capacity building? It's important to note that young people not only represent the future of Nigeria, they are one of the society's main agents of change and progress. Our analyst would look at the challenges facing Nigerian youth with a mind to preferring solutions to lack of employment opportunities, substance abuse, ritual killings, lack of affordable housing, and many more. You don't want to miss next week's edition of Voters Forum, because the reality of youth and politics in Nigeria will be placed on the banner. since the youth have a great effect on the economic development to build many social relationships and develop a personality that defines a new generation in Nigeria. Next week on Voters Forum, keep a date with us.
As we approach the 2023 general elections, there is need to organize ourselves and stop agonizing. We have been taken for a ride by the political class. We want to organize ourselves, educate ourselves, and be more involved in the political process to ensure that political leaders deliver on their campaign election promises as well as manage the country well for a better future for our children. The benefits to be derived as a member of this group are enormous, which includes 1. Opportunities to be part of those to interact with candidates in our various constituencies. 2. Training through conferences, seminars, and workshops in respect of democracy and good governance. And 3. Travel opportunities all over the world to attend and be involved in democratic activities for the betterment of humanity in general. Visit votersawareness.org.ng for more information.
You are welcome back. We are still in the heat. In fact, during the break, we were just having a good time, but we will let you have a little bit of that good time.
Yes, of course. I need to read some messages, just few messages from our viewers. This is quite funny, but this one says, now that's man we wear caps, suppose they rule us for this country. And I'm serious. I'm sorry because you saw the fire in him. Very true. Another one says, good afternoon, sir and ma. Please, in the Constitution of Nigeria law, is there any penalty on any governor or president in our so-called Nigeria that did not rule well? This is from Olufemi Olusegun from Ofada, Ogun State. So is there any penalty for them?
No, before that, please don't let us denigrate Nigeria. Nigeria is a great country.
Okay.
It is in your hand. That's what my brother here, Achike, is saying. It is you that makes it like this. I'm sure this person who is saying Nigeria so-called, you didn't come out to vote. If you come out to vote, and many of you come out to vote, you make that change. Don't let us denigrate Nigeria. I've been opportune to travel around the world. There's no country better than Nigeria. In fact, Nigeria is the best country. Where you can be, nobody will molest you, except you pass yourself. As I am talking to you as somebody who has gone around, please don't denigrate Nigeria. Nigeria is a great country. Let us respect our Nigeria. Please, I beg of you.
Yes, let's respect our country, because me, I know when you go to another man's country, the treatment they will give you, especially even when you have the bar, you have the money, you won't even feel like you're a citizen. They will still treat you the way you are, like a visitor. Yeah. Okay, anyways, this one says, please, sir, can I have the can I have the telephone number of Evangelist Shegun? I want to invite him to come and talk to us. Thank you.
After the program.
Yes, after the program.
Send a message to us.
Yes, I will send a message. So please, let's quickly round up because of time.
Yes, Achike.
No. You see, the Constitution leaves that that question you asked. Punishment for politicians or governors who have misgoverned their states. There are constitutional and legal provisions, really, for somebody. For instance, even within the State House of Assembly or National Assembly, when a president or a governor has misbehaved in ways that are inconsistent with the provisions of the Constitution, he can be impeached. That's a punishment. He can be removed from office. That's a punishment. Okay. When he leaves power, for instance, and he's involved or accused of corruption, he can be prosecuted. By the anti-corruption agencies.
Not that he can. Then, they are prosecuted.
Of course.
You remember Dari and Nyame.
And Johnny Yame. So that's a form of punishment. And then the biggest form of punishment lies with the people. Remove them. Once they have done their first term and you believe that you found them incompetent, you get them removed from power immediately. Don't vote for them. Vote for somebody else. But lastly, maybe talking about voter party. Let me just say something
very quickly, like in 30 seconds.
This is a very unique program. I mean, this is a program that is absolutely dedicated you know, to the enlightening of the Nigerian voter, and that is very, very key. You don't find that in so many, you know, other you know, television stations, and I think it is a very good thing because the voter there wants to learn. He's keen to learn.
Of course.
You know, he's worried about his country. So it is programs like this that can, you know, help to give him hope that look, there can be something better for this country.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Comrade Achikechude. It's been a very interesting one from democracy, of course, and from Voters Party angle. We enjoyed it so much. It's been an amazing one. Well, let me round up so you can close the show. Thank you so much, guys, for being part of the show. I'm so sorry we could not take so many messages. A lot of people are saying a whole lot of things, especially for our evangelists. But don't worry, all your questions will be answered.
We'll bring him back for you.
We'll bring him back again.
Because you know
also.
that's by popular demand.
Yes.
And of course, we'll break all rules and protocols to bring him back to you.
Of course.
And of course, Achike will thank you
It's
for
a pleasure.
Thank you.
my people, please just tell your friends and your people out there that there is a program that is a light of politics and that it is a must watch so that you get educated as you move. The campaigns have started now. You will be hearing things that will help you to tackle the politicians very well, to ask them questions, probing questions. Till next week.
All right. Okay, you're still...
From next week, no.
Okay.
From next till next week, I give you I wish you all the best and just have a great week ahead of you. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Barrister. Sorry to cut you in. And I'm sorry, yes, thank you so much, guys, for actually being part of the show. We'll see you next week. We'll bring more to you. I'm Rose Blossom. Do have a beautiful weekend.